Stop eating eggs every single morning. I know that sounds strange coming from a doctor, and I know many of you have been told for years that eggs are the perfect breakfast for building and maintaining muscle. But here is what nobody is telling you, and it is something that changes everything once you understand it. After the age of 75, your muscles stop responding to protein the way they used to. The rules that applied to your body at 50 or 60 do not apply anymore. And eating the same foods the same way while expecting the same results is one of the biggest nutritional mistakes older adults make. Here is what makes this even more frustrating. I have reviewed the scans and the dietary records of many seniors who are eating eggs every single day, who are consuming what appears to be a perfectly adequate amount of protein, and who are still losing muscle strength month after month. They are doing what they believe is right. They are following the advice they have been given. But their muscles are still shrinking, their legs are still weakening, and their ability to move independently is still declining. And the reason has nothing to do with how much protein they are eating. Today, I am going to reveal 5 specific fruits that can dramatically change this situation. These fruits contain compounds that do something eggs and traditional protein sources simply cannot do on their own. When you pair these fruits with your protein, they unlock a completely different level of muscle response in the aging body. I am going to rank them from least powerful to most powerful, so you will want to stay with me through the entire video because the most important one is at the end, and it is the one that surprises people the most. My name is Dr. Alveric Stonem. I am a surgeon who has spent years studying what happens to muscle tissue as the human body ages. I have looked at hundreds of muscle scans of older adults, and I have seen patterns that most people in conventional medicine are not talking about openly enough. One of the most important patterns I have observed is how dramatically muscle behavior changes after the age of 75 in ways that require a completely different nutritional strategy. What I share with you today is grounded in that direct clinical observation combined with the most current research on aging muscle biology. Let me explain to you exactly why protein alone stops working after 75, because once you understand this, everything else I share today will make complete sense. The concept is called anabolic resistance, and it is one of the most significant and least discussed changes that happens in the aging body. Anabolic simply means muscle building, and resistance means your muscles have stopped responding efficiently to the signals that normally trigger growth and repair. In a younger body, eating protein sends a clear and powerful signal to muscle tissue that says it is time to rebuild. In a body over 75, that signal becomes weak and muffled. The muscle fibers themselves are still there, and they are still capable of growth and repair, but they require a much stronger activation signal to actually begin that process. Eggs and other traditional protein sources provide the raw materials, the amino acids, that muscles need to rebuild, but they do not do enough to reduce the chronic inflammation that blocks muscle signaling in older tissue. They do not do enough to improve the circulation that delivers those amino acids to the muscle cells. And they do not do enough to enhance the specific biochemical pathways that tell aging muscle fibers to actually use the protein being delivered to them. This is where the 5 fruits come in. Each of these fruits contains specific natural compounds that directly address the problems caused by anabolic resistance. They improve blood flow so that nutrients can actually reach muscle tissue. They reduce the chronic inflammation that silently blocks muscle-building signals, and they activate the specific cellular pathways that tell aging muscles to grow and repair. When you pair these fruits with your protein sources, you are not just adding more nutrients to your diet. You are fundamentally changing how your body responds to the protein it is already receiving. We begin with the fruit ranked 5th on my list, and this is one that almost nobody in the Western world associates with muscle health. Jackfruit is a large tropical fruit that has become more widely available in recent years, and it belongs on your plate if you are serious about maintaining muscle after 75. What surprises most people is that jackfruit contains a meaningful profile of essential amino acids, the same building blocks of protein that your muscles need for synthesis and repair. Most fruits contain very little to no usable protein, which is what makes jackfruit genuinely unusual in this regard. Beyond its amino acid content, jackfruit provides potassium, magnesium, and vitamin B6, and this specific combination is particularly valuable for aging muscle function. Potassium is essential for proper muscle contraction. When potassium levels are insufficient, muscles cramp, fatigue more quickly, and struggle to contract with full force. Magnesium, as I mentioned, is involved in every single muscle contraction and relaxation cycle in the body. And vitamin B6 plays a direct role in how efficiently your body metabolizes and utilizes dietary protein. Without adequate B6, a portion of the protein you eat simply does not get converted into muscle tissue the way it should. Eating jackfruit several times per week gives your muscles a practical nutritional advantage that compounds over time. The fourth fruit on my list is something many people are familiar with but have never thought of as a muscle-building food. Guava stands apart from almost every other fruit in one very specific way. It is one of the highest protein fruits that exists in nature. A single serving of guava contains more protein than most other fruits you could name, and this protein content paired with everything else guava offers makes it exceptionally valuable for older adults dealing with anabolic resistance. Guava contains a powerful anti-inflammatory compound called quercetin, and quercetin is relevant to muscle aging in a very specific way. Researchers have identified a phenomenon called inflammaging, which refers to the chronic low-level inflammation that accumulates in the body as we age. This chronic inflammation does not feel like a fever or an obvious illness. It operates quietly in the background, and one of its primary effects is that it accelerates muscle loss by interfering with the signals that normally tell muscles to repair and grow. Quercetin in guava directly combats this inflammaging process, which means it helps restore the muscle-building signaling environment that anabolic resistance has disrupted. Guava also contains exceptionally high levels of vitamin C, higher than oranges, and this matters for muscle health in a way that is often overlooked. Vitamin C is essential for collagen synthesis, and collagen is the connective tissue that holds your muscles together and connects them to your bones through tendons and ligaments. When collagen production is insufficient, the structural framework that supports muscle function begins to deteriorate, and this contributes to weakness, poor coordination, and increased injury risk. The vitamin C in guava supports the ongoing maintenance of this entire structural system that your muscles depend on to function properly. The third fruit on my countdown is one that many people have not thought about since childhood, if they have thought about it at all. Dried mulberries occupy a very specific and important niche in muscle nutrition for older adults because of what they contain at a cellular and molecular level. Start with the basics. Dried mulberries contain meaningful amounts of both protein and iron, and both of these nutrients are directly relevant to muscle function. Iron is something that many older adults are chronically low in without knowing it, and insufficient iron has a direct and significant effect on how well your muscles work. When your iron levels are low, your blood's ability to carry oxygen to your muscle tissue is compromised. This is not a minor inconvenience. Oxygen is the fuel that your muscle cells burn during any kind of physical activity, and when they are not getting enough of it, they fatigue rapidly, they feel weak, and they struggle to perform the basic movements that keep you mobile and independent. The iron in dried mulberries helps maintain the oxygen-carrying capacity of your blood, which means your muscles have the fuel they need to function and to recover after activity. But the most scientifically remarkable thing about dried mulberries is their resveratrol content. Resveratrol is an anti-aging compound that has been extensively studied for its effects on cellular health and longevity. For muscle tissue specifically, resveratrol activates a gene pathway called SIRT1, and this activation has profound effects on how your muscle cells generate energy and repair themselves. The SIRT1 pathway is often described as one of the body's fundamental longevity switches, and it is directly involved in improving mitochondrial function in muscle cells. Mitochondria are the energy-producing structures inside each cell, and when they function better, your muscles have more energy, recover faster, and maintain their mass more effectively. The second most powerful fruit on my list is one that you might already have in your kitchen, and it is technically a fruit, even though most people think of it as a vegetable. Avocado belongs in this conversation about muscle health because of a very specific mechanism that sets it apart from everything else I have mentioned so far. Most of the fruits we discuss in the context of nutrition are valued for their vitamins, minerals, or antioxidants. Avocado is different because its primary muscle benefit comes from its fat content, specifically its monounsaturated fats, and understanding why those fats matter is crucial. Every muscle cell in your body is surrounded by a membrane made largely of fat. This membrane is not just a passive barrier. It controls what enters and exits the cell, including the amino acids from the protein you eat that need to get inside the cell to be used for muscle repair and growth. As we age, these cell membranes can become less fluid and less functional, which means nutrients have a harder time crossing into the cell even when they are present in the bloodstream. The monounsaturated fats in avocado help repair and maintain the integrity of these cell membranes, making them more permeable and more functional. When your muscle cell membranes are working properly, the protein you eat is absorbed and utilized far more effectively. This is the mechanism by which avocado dramatically improves protein absorption, and it is the reason why eating avocado alongside a protein-rich meal produces a meaningfully better muscle-building outcome than eating that same protein alone. Avocado also provides potassium, which, as I mentioned, supports proper muscle contraction, and it provides a small but meaningful amount of protein itself. The combination of these nutrients, particularly the cell membrane repair function of its fats, places avocado firmly in the second position on this list. Now we have arrived at the most powerful fruit on my list, and I want you to pay close attention because this one surprises almost everyone who hears it. Dried apricots are, in my assessment based on the available science, the single most powerful fruit for aging muscle tissue in people over the age of 75. And the reason is related to something very few people are talking about in mainstream health content. Dried apricots contain compounds that activate what are called muscle satellite cells. If you have not heard of satellite cells before, let me explain why they are so important. Satellite cells are a specialized type of cell that lives alongside your muscle fibers in a dormant state. Think of them as your muscle's own built-in repair and growth system. When muscle tissue is damaged or when a growth signal is strong enough, these satellite cells activate, multiply, and fuse with existing muscle fibers to repair damage and add new mass. They are essentially muscle stem cells, and they are the fundamental biological mechanism through which muscle tissue actually grows and heals. Here is the critical problem. After the age of 75, the activation of these satellite cells becomes severely blunted. The cells are still there, but the signals required to wake them up and put them to work are not being generated effectively. This is a central feature of anabolic resistance, and it is why simply eating more protein does not solve the problem. You can provide all the building materials in the world, but if the workers are asleep, nothing gets built. The compounds in dried apricots help generate the activation signal that wakes these satellite cells up and puts them back to work repairing and rebuilding muscle tissue. Dried apricots also provide beta-carotene, which your body converts to vitamin A, and which plays a role in the health of muscle tissue at the cellular level. They provide potassium for muscle contraction, iron for oxygen delivery to muscles, and copper for the formation of connective tissue and the proper functioning of enzymes involved in muscle metabolism. This combination of satellite cell activation alongside these supporting nutrients makes dried apricots a uniquely comprehensive muscle-supporting food that has no real equivalent in the fruit category. I want to take a moment to bring all 5 of these fruits together because I think it is important for you to see the complete picture of why this combination is so effective. Each fruit is addressing a different aspect of the muscle aging problem. Jackfruit provides amino acids and the B6 needed to utilize protein efficiently. Guava controls the chronic inflammation that blocks muscle signaling and supports the connective tissue framework muscles depend on. Dried mulberries improve the cellular energy production in muscle fibers through the SIRT1 pathway and ensure muscles receive adequate oxygen through their iron content. Avocado repairs the cell membranes that control nutrient entry into muscle cells, dramatically improving how well protein is absorbed and used. And dried apricots activate the satellite cells that are the fundamental biological mechanism of muscle repair and growth. Together, these 5 fruits address anabolic resistance from 5 different angles simultaneously. They do not replace protein. They do not make eggs irrelevant. What they do is transform the environment in your aging muscle tissue so that the protein you are already eating finally has the conditions it needs to actually work. This is a fundamentally different approach than simply eating more protein, and it is an approach that reflects how muscle biology actually works after 75. I also want to be very direct with you about why all of this matters, because it goes far beyond how you look in the mirror or how much weight you can lift. After the age of 75, maintaining muscle mass is directly connected to maintaining your independence as a human being. Muscle weakness is the primary driver of falls in older adults, and falls are one of the leading causes of serious injury and loss of independence in this age group. When your leg muscles are strong and responsive, you are stable on your feet. When they are weak and unreliable, every trip across a room becomes a risk. Strong muscles allow you to get up from a chair without help. They allow you to climb stairs, carry groceries, walk to your mailbox, and live your daily life without depending on other people for basic activities. The moment muscle weakness reaches a certain threshold, independence begins to disappear, and once it is gone, it is extremely difficult to recover. The difference between living in your own home and needing full-time care is often a matter of whether your muscles are strong enough to support your body through the activities of daily life. Everything I have shared with you today is ultimately about protecting that independence and keeping you mobile, safe, and self-sufficient for as many years as possible. My challenge to you is a simple one. Start today. Choose one fruit from this list, whichever one feels most accessible and appealing to you, and add it to what you are already eating. Pair it with your protein at your next meal. Do not wait for a perfect moment or a complete dietary overhaul. Just start with one fruit, once a day, consistently. Your muscles will begin to respond to the improved nutritional environment you are creating, and over days and weeks, you will notice the difference in how you feel, how you move, and how strong your body feels beneath you. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me how old you are, and tell me which fruit you are going to start with. Share what changes you notice as you begin adding these foods into your routine. Your experience is valuable, not just for your own motivation, but for every other person watching this video who is facing the same challenges you are and who needs to hear that change is genuinely possible at any age. If this information has been useful to you, please like this video and share it with a family member or friend who is over 75 and who deserves to have this knowledge. And if you want to continue learning evidence-based strategies for staying strong and independent as you age, subscribe to this channel. I am Dr. Alveric Stonem, and I will see you in the next video.